Hey everyone, it's Mario, and today we're talking to Erin Smith with Cultivating Connections Travel Planners. Did I say all that right? I wanted to
You
get that.
did.
Awesome.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah, so we got it. I've already recommended you, Erin, several times. I think I called you the other day on Facebook. I see people. Seems like more and more everyone's wanting to get out of the house and start going somewhere. So they're asking for help. So I'm tagging you every time I see one of those. So hopefully you'll get a few of those responses pretty
I,
soon. But
I appreciate that.
yeah, so I wanted everyone to kind of get to know you a little bit better. So kind of tell us about yourself. Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
Uh, that's a story. I was born in Norman, Oklahoma. Lived in Pauls Valley until I was 7, and then my mom got a wild hair and decided to move to Hawaii. So I spent most of my childhood in Hawaii on the North Shore of Kauai. I also attended a boarding school on Maui for 3 years. So I
Pretty
lived there
much,
till I was 16.
pretty much the same thing, right? Paul's Valley, Hawaii. They're
No, totally different. Um, Came back to Pauls Valley when I was 16 and graduated from Pauls Valley High School. Then I went to East Central in Ada and married somebody in the military. So we moved away. I came back to Oklahoma, actually to Edmond, when I separated from my first husband and then began a career in mortgage lending and um, ended up getting married a couple of years later and had a child and was a stay-at-home mom for many years.
okay.
And so the travel business is my, as I like to say, encore business.
Gotcha.
We're empty nesters now, so yeah.
So what got you? Obviously, living in Hawaii probably had something to do with it, but I'm assuming you like to travel. But what got you into doing what you're doing today?
Well, the traveling from living in Hawaii, I traveled a lot living there. My first husband being in the military, we traveled a little bit. We lived in Japan for a while. I've just always loved travel. I went on I guess it would be a Presbyterian heritage trip to Scotland because the Presbyterian Church started in Scotland with the University of Tulsa. The I think he is the dean of theology, maybe. He runs Sharp Chapel
Okay.
at the University of Tulsa, and he took us on a trip over there to, learn more about our religion, and that really got me into traveling more. And so that's really between that and a trip I took when I was in boarding school. We went to Europe and did an English literature tour of England and Ireland and France. Those are the two biggest
Okay.
trips I can point to my love of travel. Yeah.
Okay. So how long have you been a travel agent now?
I'm in my 4th year. Like I said, I was a stay-at-home mom, and so when my son was a junior in high school, I started thinking, well, I can't, I can't justify staying home anymore. I want to do something with my time once he's in college and out of the house, and so that's when I started my journey into the travel business.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I get questions all the time, especially, during the pandemic, as far as like travel, what, in your opinion, have things started to kind of pick back up now? Are you seeing a lot of bookings for travel now?
I am. It was pretty quiet for 18 months, but about last summer things started picking up. People wanting to plan ahead. Um, I have somebody going on a river cruise. Actually, the picture behind me, they're going to go on that Rhine River cruise, which I just did at the beginning of the month. And it's a mother and daughter. It's the daughter that planned it, and so yeah, trips like that. I've had a lot of requests for domestic travel, especially like national parks, Yellowstone, Yosemite. Um, I have somebody that's going to Cape Cod. For various reasons, they don't want to leave the country. Either they don't have passports or they don't want to deal with the CDC's testing to come back into the country.
Hmm.
So I've had a lot
That
of that.
that kind of leads me into my next question. So where are some of the places that are easiest to travel, and then also some of the most difficult places that where would you recommend, and then where would you say to avoid right now?
Um, Mexico's always really easy. They don't have any requirements that I'm aware of. It's always changing. I haven't checked in the last couple of weeks. Um, but Mexico's really easy. You do still have to have a test to come back into the United States. Anytime you leave the country, you have to have I think it's an antigen test right now, within 48 hours, maybe 24 now, to come back into the country, which a lot of hotels and resorts, especially in Mexico, they are facilitating that.
Yeah,
Um, Europe is pretty easy. They do, depending on the country, have a lot of requirements, but most of it you can do online. Like when I went on my river cruise, I had to fill out a Swiss COVID certificate that takes 5 days to get back, and then um, there was a health certificate as well from the Swiss government because I started in Switzerland. Um, but most of that is, other than the Swiss certificates that I had to do, everything else is pretty much the airlines. Once you check in, they make sure you have everything that you need, so they won't let you on the plane if you don't. So,
are
which
there
is
any
good. You don't
places
want to
that
get
are
lost, get
restricted
stuck in a
right now?
country, right?
Are there any places that are restricted right now from allowing U.S. travelers?
um, some of the Caribbean countries, their rules have changed a lot recently. Some of them are requiring testing to get into the country. Some of them are requiring testing like every 3 or 4 days, and then coming back. Um, I'm not quite sure. I know a couple of them may not even be open really for
Gotcha,
unvaccinated. Most of them are requiring vaccinations.
gotcha.
Yeah.
And then, as far as what you do, tell everyone kind of what all kinds of travel are you able to plan? Because I know it kind of probably ranges from just a small weekend getaway to like a big, what all do you plan?
Yeah, I can book weekend getaways. I will say up front, I'm not really a Disney specialist. That is a certain niche that I have not delved into. I don't have children at home, so it's not really
Right.
something that I have any interest in. I could book, easy trips to Disney and Universal. I've done a couple of those. But if it involves children with the princess breakfasts or whatever, I don't know anything about that. So I would refer someone to someone else for that. Um, I think, no, what was the question again?
What all kinds of trips do you plan? Like how big, how
hmm
small, all
It
that.
could be a small, long weekend, 3-day weekend trip to Napa. It could be a bucket list trip. I have some great travel partners. In fact, I have some colleagues that are in Antarctica right now that, yeah, they just landed yesterday. So I'm following them on Facebook because I have not been. I get seasick sometimes. So that trip is not one that I will probably ever do because it's pretty rough. River cruises, those are probably my favorite. You get on the ship and you don't have to unpack just one time, and then you pack at the end of the trip, and you can go through several countries. Usually, the ships drop you in the city center or somewhere close, and you can explore the whole city. The cruise line I like the most actually includes all their meals. It includes excursions. It includes cocktails in the evening. They have a sip and sail every night, and there's a cocktail of the
Nice.
night. And yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Um, a- and also like heritage tours to Scotland because that's what I love. Scotland and Ireland are two of my favorite destinations.
Okay.
So those
Nice.
are
Very
golf
good.
trips. Ireland golf trips are pretty big.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Now you piqued my interest.
Ah,
Anything golf related. I'm about.
yeah.
So, we talked a little bit before, but I was always one to usually not purchase travel insurance when I traveled because
Mhm.
I thought, well, what could happen,
It's
But
a waste of money.
yeah,
Yeah. They're
now
just trying to get
yeah,
some more money out of you. Yeah.
so now I've kind of changed my tune. The last two trips I've taken, I've purchased that travel insurance. So
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on anyone booking any kind of travel right now with insurance?
I always recommend travel insurance. Even before COVID, I did. And I will tell you why. And it's not even a major story. It's not like you're stuck in Mexico and the hospital won't let you leave without paying your bill. That trip to Scotland that I mentioned, my mom went with us, and um, our luggage never made it. We got home and it found us, but apparently it stayed at Heathrow Airport the entire time we were in Scotland and Ireland. So we had purchased travel insurance, and so when we got back, we were able to get reimbursed for a portion of the items we had to buy. We had to buy suitcases, we had to buy clothing. We only had the clothing we were wearing,
Yeah.
one pair of shoes, you know.
Yeah.
So, and that's a very minor story, but like I mentioned there was a story in Mexico, and I want to say it was Cancun, where a couple went down from Oklahoma, and the husband had some kind of health issue, and I can't remember what it was. It may have been a heart attack, it may have been a broken leg. I can't remember. But he was not going to be able to be released from the hospital until he paid his medical bill. And our health insurance doesn't cover anything outside the country or territories of the United States in some cases. So he hadn't purchased travel insurance, and so he was pretty much held hostage till he paid that bill.
Wow.
And I'm yelling at the TV, you should have gotten travel insurance. But I mean,
Wow.
even in the day of COVID, because of COVID, travel insurance at first, I'm sure all of them had the rider in it that it was a pandemic and they wouldn't cover it. But some of them are covering it now, and the ones I recommend have little add-ons, additional policy or additions to the policies that you can add on that will cover quarantine because you have to get tested before you come back. If it pops positive,
Yeah.
you got to pay for a few extra nights, 5 nights right now. So yeah,
Yeah. And it's usually not that expensive to add on, right?
it's not. It's usually based on age though. So depending on the traveler's age, sometimes I will recommend a supplier um, that has a policy within their own travel organization. And then sometimes, most of the time, I recommend a third party because it usually has better medical coverage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And then people are always wondering, when is the best time? Like, how far out should someone plan to get the very best deal on travel?
That's very subjective. um, I always recommend start planning as soon as possible because you could get your money side, lined up and um, deals. That's This time of year is usually a really good time. It's called wave season, and so a lot of the suppliers offer some beginning of the year deals. And then in the fall, there'll be another cycle of them, but it really just totally depends on the trip, the time of year you're planning on going, everything. There's so many things that are involved that I don't know the deal is the right word, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
But usually the more you can plan in advance, the better as far as just getting everything ready and
right.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and typically, if suppliers are going to raise their rates on something, it's going to be at the beginning of the year. So if you want to plan ahead, plan for 20 the early 2023 is not unheard of right now. And some
Okay.
suppliers, especially a lot of the cruise lines, are starting to release their 2024
Wow. Okay.
itineraries. So, yeah.
Okay. So if you had to tell everybody in Oak Tree, what's one travel tip that everybody should know that they may not know already? What's a good tip that you would give somebody?
Besides the travel insurance,
Hmm.
I mean, that's my biggest.
Okay.
I'm a stickler for the travel insurance. Um, I would say don't take as much as you think you need. I'm an overpacker, and so and another thing is if you're going somewhere that you're going to bring home souvenirs, take bubble wrap with you so that you can bring back the more fragile things in your suitcase and not have to worry about it and ship it separately and all that. Yeah.
I've never thought of that. That's so obvious, but I've never
Yeah.
done that before. Yeah. And it doesn't weigh anything. So it's not,
No.
yeah.
No,
Okay.
it does take up a little bit of room, especially the ones that I usually end up saving are the ones that come with food in them, so they're a little heavier and
Uh-huh.
they've got pockets in them, and so they're a little bigger, but
That's
it
a
it,
great tip.
it balances out. I
No, that's
also
great.
keep an extra bag in my suitcase that's just for dirty laundry, and so I will check that when I come home. I'll pay extra for that extra baggage.
Okay.
That's another thing. Airlines very rarely give you free baggage anymore. So be prepared to pay for the bags. Be prepared to possibly pay extra for specific seats that you
Okay.
want. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Mhm.
And if somebody wants to get in touch with you, I know they may see you out at an event or something like that, but if they wanted to get in touch with you, ask you questions, or possibly book something, what's
Mhm.
the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Probably my website or Facebook. Those are the two best ways to reach me. My website is www.cultivatingconnectionstravelplanners.com, or an easy way to get there is erinsmithtravel.com. It's a lot shorter. And I'm on Facebook at Cultivating Connections Travel Planners and Instagram, but I'm more of a Facebook person. So,
And I've checked your page pretty often. You're
Mhm.
always posting about different places, different deals, different everything, right, on your
Mhm.
Facebook page.
Yes, yeah, I have something on there, something new every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Erin. This has been really insightful. I learned a couple of new things, and I travel a lot. So, but
Mhm.
I picked up some good tips from you today. So I
Good.
appreciate your time. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's been a
Okay.
pleasure.
Thanks.
Uh huh.